Hey there, Intrapulation here. Wondering where I've been? Me too. Doesn't matter. You know what does matter? Actually, don't call me Intrapulation. You can just call me Roy. I owe you that much. Trapulation's a long, convoluted, stupid name. Anyway, I promised that a long time ago that I would finish this. And I didn't. And I can't fucking live with that. I swore there. I promised also that I wouldn't swear. I promised I would finish it a long time ago. There we go. Anyway, I'm not gonna rant on like some low-T soy boy, so let's get this started. The Journey of Graves. When the Man Comes Around, Chapter 5. I think that's where I was. Keep in mind, I don't have voice actors for this one like I did for the other ones. I think I honestly have the voices for Graves and Rarity from people that gave it to me like a year or maybe longer. Fuck. I'm not gonna go find it. And I don't use Skype anymore, so I don't really talk to those people, so. The streets were more hectic than ever as they walked towards the center of Ponyville. People were dashing around like busy little bees, rushing to finish festival preparations in time. And yet, Rarity seemed to have no problem at all clearing a path through the crowds as they headed towards their destination. Perhaps it was because any man who caught sight of her gave the lovely lady a smile and made way. Then again, perhaps it was the rather imposing figure following after her that inspired the wide berth. Who knows? After arriving at the center of the town square, the traveler was surprised to find himself looking at a tree, and not just any tree, but a gigantic monolith of a tree that dwarfed many of the buildings around it. And from what he could tell, it was still alive and healthy, yet the windows, the balconies, and the doorways that dotted its surface clearly indicated that it was indeed hollow. "This is a library?" he asked, eyeing it askance. "Indeed," Rarity replied. "A repository of Equestria's knowledge and learning for the past 1,000 years, preserved for the understanding of future generations to come, or so Twilight tells me." Approaching the door, Rarity gave a few quick knocks and called out, "Twilight, darling, are you in?" The door sprung open, and a little boy in a purple windbreaker, probably no more than 12, practically jumped out to greet them. "Hi, Rarity!" He grinned happily. "How you been?" "Oh, hi, Oh, hello, Spike," she said, giving him a fond pat on his spiky green-haired head. "Is Twilight home?" "Nah, she stepped out to take care of some more of that party stuff. She should be back in a minute or so. Do you want to come in and wait?" The eagerness of his expression was almost palpable. "Oh, I really can't, Spike," Rarity said apologetically. "I have some business I must attend to. But could you do me a favor?" "Oh, of course! What do you need?" "Well, this gentleman here," she said, gesturing towards the traveler, "needs to see Twilight on some business. Can you make sure they meet?" "You can count on me," Spike replied, throwing a smart salute. "Oh, I knew you could," Rarity replied, with an indulgent smile and a pinch on his cheek. "Now I must be on my way, but I'll see you at the party." Turning around, she took the basket from the traveler and looked up at him. "And I trust I'll see you there too?" she asked, sapphire eyes twinkling as she did. The traveler paused, then gave an almost imperceptibly small nod of his head. "I'll see what I can do." Though it wasn't much, Rarity gave him a satisfied smile. "Excellent. Well then, a fine day to you both. Au revoir." The pretty young lady glided off and was soon swallowed by the crowd. Turning to enter the library, the traveler was surprised to find Spike eyeing him suspiciously. Well, not exactly suspiciously, more like with a keen sense of distrust, and/or niggling feeling that he was up to no good. "So, you know Rarity, huh?" the boy asked the traveler, eyes narrowing. "She helped fix my clothes," he replied, unsure of the implications of the question. "And?" Spike continued, eyes growing narrower still. "She showed me here where I met you." "Is that all?" Spike asked again, his eyes so narrow that the traveler began wondering if the boy could even see him at all. "Unless I'm mistaken, yes?" Spike eyed him for a moment longer. Then suddenly, his whole face brightened and he gave the traveler a big smile. Okay then, come on in. Spike waved him into the tree, and it was simply amazing. Every spare wall and surface had been converted into shelf space, where thousands upon thousands of books lay stacked in dizzying tiers up the entire height of the tree. Twilight hadn't been joking. It says Twilight hadn't been joking, but I'm assuming it was Rarity. Rarity hadn't been joking when she called it a repository of all knowledge in Equestria. Sorry for the third degree earlier, Spike called as he headed through another door leading to what seemed like the kitchen. A few moments later, he emerged, bearing a tray of small cookies and a pot of fresh coffee. Setting them down on the center table, he took a seat and poured 2 cups before sliding one to the opposite side, where the traveler had taken a seat as well. Well, I guess I shouldn't have come so hard on you since you're new and all, he continued, taking a sip. But the thing is... The little boy paused, looking around to make sure the room was still empty. Then leaning in and lowering his voice into a conspirational hush. I sort of have a crush on Rarity. See, the traveler replied, unsure how to respond. I'll keep that in mind. But you gotta promise not to tell anyone, okay? Spike said, eyes wide with intent. Promise, the traveler assured him as he took a sip of coffee. It was quite delicious. Satisfied with the answer, Spike reached for a cookie and popped it into his mouth. As he did so, the traveler caught a glimpse of a pair of rather long fangs. His eyes widened in astonishment. You're a salamander, aren't you? He wasn't sure how he could have missed it. The fangs, the spiky green hair that almost resembled scales in their shape, the reptilian shape of his eyes, and the sturdy nails on his hands that could very well be taken for claws. They were all characteristic traits of the people from the salamander tribe. Spike's eyes widened in surprise as well. Yeah, that's right, he said excitedly. Wow, you're the first person besides Twilight to guess that. How'd you know? Oh, the traveler said and hesitated. Met some in my earlier travels. Really? Spike's eyes shone in excitement. Where? Not sure, he said evasively. Somewhere south, near the desert probably. He paused to take another sip of coffee, then redirected the topic. Didn't know salamanders came so far up north. I wouldn't know about that, Spike shrugged. I mean, I'm the only one around, as far as I can tell. And I'm actually not from around here. I came from Canterlot with Twilight. From Canterlot? How? The traveler asked in surprise. It was a good question since Canterlot was even farther up north from the deserts than Ponyville. Well, I was hatched there, Spike replied, not seeming to understand the question. Hatched? The traveler asked. As in, from an egg? Well, duh, that's how all babies are made, aren't they? The mommy lays an egg and they hatch, Spike said, sounding very much like he was trying to explain walking to an infant. Salamanders lay eggs? Huh, the traveler intoned, as he picked up his mug once again. You could never tell when you'd learn something new. Wait a minute, Spike said, his face contorted from a concentration as his brain worked to give shape to a new question. Does that mean that other people don't lay eggs? If you don't lay eggs, then where do babies come from? The traveler nearly spilled his coffee clear across the table. That's... he stammered. He did not like the direction of which this conversation was going. Well, Spike pressed, how does it work? Fortunately, before the traveler was forced to give an answer, the front door opened and another young girl walked in. She had dark blue hair with 2 streaks of color going through it, one pink and the other violet. They must have been natural because of her calm, bookish sort of air that spoke of intelligence and an abundance of sense. She didn't seem to be the type to dye her hair. Of course, the fact that she was wearing an Argyle sweater vest and held a clipboard with a quill tucked behind one ear probably lent to the idea as well. Hey, Spike, how'd the planning go? Spike asked with his previous question completely forgotten. The traveler sighed in relief and silently said a prayer of thanks for children's short attention spans. Everything went perfectly, exactly as I scheduled it, Twilight said with a proud smile, That's when she noticed a guest seated at the table. "Oh, who do we have here?" She looked to the newcomer with a head cocked and curiosity in her big amethyst eyes. Spike said, pointing back at the traveler with his thumb. "Rarity brought him over. He said he had to see you about something." "Really?" Twilight intoned as she took a third seat at the table. "Well, in that case, how can I help you?" Reaching inside his jacket, the traveler pulled out a small, nondescript envelope. "I'm supposed to give you this," he said, setting the envelope on the table and sliding it over. "Oh, what is it?" Twilight asked as she picked it up for careful examination. Beyond the fact that it was rather good quality parchment, there was not much else that stood out. Even the spot of crimson wax that sealed it was nondescript and unmarked. "Can't really say," the traveler shrugged. "It was just on my way." "Well, thank you very much for bringing it," Twilight said as she opened the envelope. However, when she unfolded the letter, she simply frowned and stared at it in confusion. Well, this is odd. Are you sure someone asked you to deliver this?" she asked before looking up at the traveler. "Why, what's wrong?" he asked. Twilight turned the letter to him so that he could see it as well. It was completely blank. "Curious," the traveler replied, gunmetal gray eyes darting across the page. "That's the letter I was given. Why, it's blank, though." He trailed off with a shrug. "This is so strange," Twilight murmured, still looking at the paper. "I don't see anything, but that wouldn't make any sense. There must be something I'm missing." She picked up the sheet and flipped it over, eyeing it closely so that her nose was almost pressed up against it. Still nothing. "Maybe it's invisible ink," she thought aloud as she pulled a wand from her pocket and lightly tapped the parchment. A faint purple glow surrounded the paper as it floated up, but it quickly dissipated and let the sheet drift back to the table. "No, maybe it's a single eye spell," she said, tapping the sheet again, but with similar results. "No, is it a confidentiality charm? No, how about—" As Twilight continued experimenting with the papery, the traveler quietly slid his chair back and picked up his bundle. Having completed his task, he was walking towards the door to excuse himself when Spike called out. "Hey, aren't you going to stay for some snacks?" he asked while grabbing another cookie. "Still have some business," the traveler replied. "Best if I went and got started." "Aw, you're not leaving so soon, are you?" Twilight asked as she set down the paper. "The party is about to start, and it would be a shame for you to miss it." "I really should get going," the traveler insisted. "Like I said, I have—" He didn't finish, because Twilight's giggling abruptly cut him off. "I'm sorry, I really shouldn't be laughing," she said, trying to stifle her chuckle behind her hand. "It's just, you sound exactly like me when I first got here." "Oh?" the traveler asked, eyebrow raised in question. "How's that?" "Back when I first came to Ponyville, all I could think about was getting my job done. It wasn't until after I got to know the people here that I realized sometimes jobs can wait long enough for you to make some friends." "Won't be here long," the traveler said simply. "Doubt I have enough time to make friends before I head out." Twilight simply giggled again. "I wouldn't be so sure about that," she said with a knowing smile. "The people around here are awfully good at making friends in a hurry. Besides, I'm sure that whatever your job is, it can wait long enough for you to meet some new people. What do you say? Join us at the party?" With Twilight looking up at him with such childly innocent hope, the traveler really couldn't find the heart to refuse. He sighed. "I'll drop off my things and I'll come back in a bit." "Yay!" Twilight cheered, clapping her hands in delight. "Oh, this'll be exciting! I'm gonna go this'll be exciting! I'm gonna go quadruple check the plans and make sure everything's perfect. Come on, Spike, let's make sure this is the best party ever!" Twilight grabbed up the letter, grabbed Spike by the hand, and dashed out the door in an excitement-fueled flash. In the light of Twilight's incredibly abrupt exit, it was a moment before the traveler realized that he should probably get going. Taking one last sip of his coffee, he stood up and headed for the door, shaking his head as he walked. People around here sure are crazy. And that is chapter 5. I'll see you in chapter 6, and I'll get up probably pretty soon because I just want to finish this and move on with my life.
What are you whining about, huh? What do you want? What is it? Use your words. I'm not giving you my food. No. Stop that. Bad. Ah! No! Ah! It's rape, Arrow. You don't do that. It's bad. Arr! Our little... Ah! No! No licking! No! None of that!